these Rogue implements certainly have an artistic quality to them, but if you've ever used a bar like this, it is much different than a barbell that you would find in an everyday gym.
Yes, this barbell is made specifically for the deadlift. It's longer. It's about 9 feet long. And this length also means that there's more flex in the barbell. And that proposes that strongman can actually lift more weight. But actually also they have to control that flex in the barbell and overcoming that weight in the end with their brute strength.
Hafthor Bjornsson did that last year as he lifted 1,041 pounds to set the record on this deadlift bar. There are 5 men who have lifted more than 1,000 pounds, and 4 of them are here in this field. Brian Shaw, Jerry Pritchett, Jean-Francois Caron, and Hafthor Bjornsson. The deadlift is the opening event, the first of 5 events that will be contested here at the Arnold Strongman Classic. Each athlete will have 3 attempts, and there is a little bit of a chess match that goes into this.
Yes, there is a chess match, but still you have to lift the weights that you select. It's patience off of the floor to control flex. That's the number one thing that you've got to do, because if you pull the bar quickly from the floor and you can't control that flex, then it can get away from you. And the second one, once you get the bar to your knees, is to overcome that weight with just brute strength. It's still about lifting that barbell.
The deadlift certainly does look like a simple movement, as you just heard Dr. Crawford talk about. It is a very complex movement. A lot of things you have to keep in mind in order to be successful. Let's take a look at the past champions here, and Brian Shaw's name shows up a lot. He has won 3 Arnold Strongman championships, the most recent coming in 2017. Hafthor Bjornsson, who is also here, he won last year, and he is the defending champion, and a lot of money is on the line here in this competition. The first place competitor will win $72,000. Second place takes home $22,000. Then we work our way down to 10th place. So every man here will take home some sort of prize money. And there's also some big money on the line here in this event. We'll talk about that more in just a little bit. But we mentioned Hafthor Bjornsson and Brian Shaw at the top of the show. They are definitely favorites, not only in this competition, but also in this event. But there are also 2 other men in the field here who could do very well in this event. One is a little bit of a mystery. The other, though, is a sure thing. The first is Jerry Pritchett. This guy knows how to deadlift.
Yes, Jerry's a prodigious deadlifter. He's got a world record in powerlifting, and he deadlifted 950 at the Santa Monica Arnold Strongman Classic, which showed a lot of potential for a much heavier deadlift. Jerry is an athlete who always comes prepared, but the deadlift is his specialty.
Jerry Pritchett really knows this implement. Now, one man we're keeping an eye on, not because he's proficient with this, but because he has struggled, and that is the youngster Mateusz Kaliszkowski from Poland.
Mateusz is a very dynamic athlete. He does a lot of things that are unbelievable. The stone lift last year was something that shocked the strongman world. But also the athletes that figure out the static events later in their career are the ones that become most successful.
Mateusz Kaliszkowski making his 5th appearance here at the Arnold Strongman Classic. He has never finished better than 3rd. Last year he was 4th. Won the stone to shoulder with a world record performance. With the 2 men who will be getting most of the attention here to begin with, talked about them at the top of the show, your defending champion Hafthor Bjornsson and Brian Shaw. They've been here a total of 18 times, won the Arnold Strongman Classic a total of 4. Bjornsson much younger than Shaw at 37 and Hafthor at 30 years old. And Hafthor Bjornsson, like you talked about at the top, Bill, he has really rounded out his game over the recent years.
Yes, he has. He's figured out the static events, that being the deadlift and the overhead press. He was always great with endurance events and also great with power events such as tossing a weight over a bar or anything that had any kind of dynamic component to it. He's a complete strongman now, and that's showing because he sits atop the strongman world.
The 2 will square off in the opening event. It's the first of 5 events that will be contested over the next 2 days, and it is a packed house here at the Greater Columbus Convention Center as these people have gathered to watch some big weight go up and possibly some record-breaking weight to go up. Bill, you've competed. What's it like to lift in front of a crowd like this?
Well, this is the faithful. These are the people that know this sport, and they've come here to watch something. They know what they're looking at. So these are the people that want to see the red meat of Strongman, which is going to be the heaviest lifts and the most unbelievable performances, and we have the 10 best athletes to show those off.
And we are starting off with really kind of a home run derby of this competition, and that is the deadlift. And I've heard you talk about it before, that the deadlift is really a lift that if you want to know how strong somebody is, you make them do a deadlift.
Yes, the deadlift is not just an event which shows someone's power. We talk about power all the time, which is force times distance and how fast you can do it. But really what it is, it's how you can just move a weight, being able to overcome a weight completely and however long it takes. And that's what the deadlift defines. Typically it's the strongest man that can actually do the biggest deadlift, but there are some components to it that have to be mastered. And honestly, I always thought about deadlift as an event I had to practice, because you have to get these fine balance points. In the Santa Monica show, I was able to talk with Brian Shaw during the event, and we both agreed that you've got to have just that right place to pull the bar. And if you don't get that place, you can either have the bar in front of you or you can pull back a bit too much.
So let's talk about how this event is actually going to go down. They have 3 lifts. Last night, they had to pick their opening lift, and we will go from lightest to heaviest. And this is where the chess match kind of comes in, because you got to know not only what you're capable of, but you got to make sure that you're keeping your opponents in mind while you're picking what you're going to lift.
Yes, so there are several ways this could go down. This could turn into where the athletes just want to sort out the competition. They're going to pick weights that they feel that they're confident with, and they can get to a weight that's close to the record breaker's weight of 1,041 pounds, and then go for the big 1,100 pound or the 500 kilogram lift later. But inside of that, there might be strategies which play themselves out where athletes want to save points, or they actually want to just look at the competition itself and not go after the bigger lift, which would be at the end of this, or could be at the end of this.
The top 3 men, the bottom of that graphic, the top 3 men in this event will qualify for the Rogue Record Breakers. That is not part of the competition as far as points are concerned, but the 3 top men will have a chance to beat the world deadlift record of 1,100 pounds. If they do that, they will win $50,000. If they beat Thor Bjornsson's record last year that was set on the elephant bar of 1,041 pounds, they will win $5,000. So right off the bat here, we are giving away some pretty big prize money, and points are great in this event, but there are some men who are really going to be gunning for that 50 grand here.
Absolutely, and I love how audacious this is, because we're not just looking for an improvement in the world's record, we're actually looking to go up by over 50 pounds, which is unbelievable.
Let's meet the 10 men who will be competing in the 2019 Arnold Strongman Classic. Here's Matt Eisman.
My name is Matt Eisman. I'm the host of American Ninja Warrior, and I will be your host over the next 2 days. And I am honored to share the stage with a legend. This man is a 2-time USA Olympic weightlifter. He's a WWE Hall of Famer, and most importantly, he won this event the very first time it was held in 2002. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Mark Henry! Well, hello. It's good to see y'all again. Are y'all ready for the strongest men in the world? Okay, come on, guys. I know y'all tired. Y'all been walking around all day. Are you ready for the strongest men in the world? All right, I think they're ready. What I love about this, Mark, is we have 10 men who are going to fight through 5 events over the next 2 days to crown one champion. 2 events are going to happen on this stage right now. We're going to start off with this one, the Rogue Elephant Bar Deadlift. And Mark, this is going to be a test of wills. I mean, when I told you it's a test of will, it's not only a test of will, it's a test of conquering fear. You cannot come to this bar thinking I can't do it. It's got to be success and winning the whole time. And what's special is thanks to one of our major hosts, Rogue Fitness, there is money on the line in this event. Now you break the current record in this event of 1,041 pounds held by Hathor Pearson, you get $5,000 on the spot. But if you can lift 501 kilos, you get $50,000. Now after that, our next event, the Husafeld Stone Carry, and this is a strongman essential.
You know that the Husafeld Stone, this is a lift that a lot of guys dread to see. I mean, it's an Icelandic lift. Guys got to walk around a sheep pen, and many guys have tried it, many guys have failed. So we'll get to see today who stands up to the competition.
Absolutely. And then tomorrow, we have two incredible events, both inspired by the namesake of this event, Arnold Schwarzenegger himself. If you haven't seen it tomorrow, your mind will be blown by our third event, the Wheel of Pain.
Woo. Have y'all seen it? Listen, I'm so glad I'm retired. That one puts fear in me. I'm looking forward to seeing these guys compete.
It's 40 feet tall, 20,000 pounds. After that, they will be tested by the Austrian oak, the log press, which you know, that is a beast of a challenge.
You know what, even if you're in great shape, and you do everything right, sometimes the Austrian oak can get the best of you.
Yeah. And then we're going to finish it out on the main stage tomorrow night, and we will crown a champion with the final event, the Stone to Shoulder. And last year, that event, you were there, that was unbelievable seeing it earlier in the competition. I love that we're closing the event out with the Stone to Shoulder.
It was one of the more exciting events that I've ever been a part of. We had our young guy come out and show the old dogs who the real young man was going to be. He showed out.
Well, right now, I think it's time to meet the 10 athletes who are going to be competing, pouring blood, sweat, and tears for your entertainment. Are you ready to meet them? No, Mark. You said this sport thrives on energy. Are you ready to meet your athletes? Then, ladies and gentlemen, let's introduce the 10 athletes who will be vying for the title of 2019 Arnold Sports Classic World's Strongest Man. First up, out of Slovenia, 26 years old, 6 feet tall, 330 pounds, twice Slovenia's strongest man, Matjaž Belšak.
And coming to the stage next, you know him. You would like to see him as the Mountain on Game of Thrones, but we call him Hathor. Julius Pearson. Standing at 6'9". This man has won his first championship last year. Let's see if he can win another one this year.
And following him, out of Canada, a man who was a force in this particular event, 35 years old, 6 feet 2 inches tall, 353 pounds, 7 times Canada's strongest man, Jean-Francois Caron!
And next to the stage, from Estonia, Arnold Heinle. This man is one of the better guys that we've seen in years past. Let's hope that he can put on the kind of performance that he put on last year.
I gotta say, looking at these athletes, we have some guys who have some experience in this contest. Some guys who really showed us what's about. And this guy last year was explosive. He was a revelation. 25 years old, 6 feet 5 inches tall, 330 pounds, the Polish powerhouse, Mateusz Kielecikowski. And it was that Stone to Shoulder where this guy was a revelation, Mark.
And he was. And next to the stage, Martins Likas Martins lives in California now, and he comes from training. His father was a trainer. So we get to see these guys come to the stage and show everybody what true power.
Originally from Latvia, but he's waving the red, white, and blue. I love Lisa's out here. And next up, he won the amateur last year to earn his spot on this stage. He's the youngest athlete out here at 23 years of age, 6 feet 1 inches tall, 302 pounds from Ukraine, Oleksiy Novikov.
You know him, you love him, you've seen him before, but now I need you to see him again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, from the United States of America, Mr. Jerry Pritchard.
And now coming to the stage, one of the greatest strongmen in history. He stands 6 feet 8 inches tall, 420 pounds, his 10th time at the Arnold. Give it up for Brian Shaw!
And to us, we call him Misha, but everybody else knows him as the Siberian Force, Mikhail Shilnikov. As you can see, he wears that beret. This man is the equivalent of the Green Beret, a soldier, a man that has stood for his country, and let's give him a round of applause because we love our military.
Ladies and gentlemen, these are the 10 athletes who will be vying for the title. Let's give them a round of applause. Right now, we're going to let them head backstage to get warmed up for this first event. And Mark, we mentioned this first event is special. We are kicking things off with the Rogue Elephant Bar Deadlift. Now, the current record in this is 1,042 pounds by Iceland's Hafthor Pearson. But we have with us a very special guest. I think some of you can see him. He's the man who holds the Strongman record for the regular deadlift bar at 500 kilos. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage a special guest, Eddie Hall, better known as the Beast. So first of all, Eddie, I gotta say, you hold the mark. They're gonna be going for it in the elephant bar. But when you lifted 500 kilos back in 2016, it looked like it nearly killed you. What was it like moving that amount of weight?
Pulling 500 kilo is something that, honestly, like, I've won the world's strongest man. I've done hundreds of feats of strength, but pulling 500 kilo off the floor was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And as you saw, you know, I basically passed out, got backstage, I lost my sight, I lost my memory. It was a very, very dangerous time. So I can appreciate what it takes to pull this kind of weight off the floor. So if anyone does it today, I will bow down. I was so well done, 100%.
Listen, with a name like the Beast, you would think you would be in one of the WWE rings. You ever thought about making the transition?
I have. I've currently got a couple of TV shows going on. WWE is something I'm considering. I'm just so busy at the minute. It would take a year for me to train to be a wrestler, and I haven't got a year.
Well, you got a lot of fanfare over the last few years, documentaries and different lifts that you've done. What do you think, in your opinion, is the true indicator of strength? Do you think that the deadlift is that lift?
In my opinion, the strongest man on the planet, of course the world's strongest man, he will be classed as the world's strongest man. But in my opinion, the man that can stand up with the most weight from the floor to his hips is the strongest man on the planet. End of story.
Well, I love that. Now, Eddie, we want to make clear, you held the record on a traditional deadlift bar. This is the elephant bar. It's a little different. Can you explain the differences and what that translates to in a lift?
Sure, so the elephant bar is in essence, the weight leaves the floor a little later, so people would think, I mean, you'd think it'd be an easier lift, and I've done this lift, but I think it's one of these lifts you have to train for it for months and months and months to be good at it. And I mean, I pulled this on this bar a couple of years ago, and I found it, like, it just pulled me forward. I found it harder than a normal bar, but I feel as though if I'd have got a few months training, I think it would have been very similar. But end of the day, it's a deadlift, it's a hell of a bar, it shakes, it pulls you forward. It's going to be really exciting to see what somebody does on this today.
Well, I know if someone can match your mark on this elephant bar, what you did on the traditional bar, they're going to get $50,000. But we were talking about this. This is the first event. There are 5 events. Now, tell us what happened in 2016 when you pulled that record. How did you do in the rest of the competition?
So when I pulled the 500 kilo as part of the Europe's Strongest Man, I had to drop out the competition because it's such a huge feat of strength. It completely destroys your central nervous system. Obviously, it's a huge tax on your back. If anyone were to pull 500 kilo today, I would expect them to drop out the competition. If they carry on, then they're a bigger man than I am, that's for sure.
So Eddie, do you think that if you were to make an attempt that was under the world record, would you take an extra attempt, even if you had it in the bag, because knowing that you have to compete in 3 other events?
It's a really tough one. I mean, to gauge this, in my opinion, you want to be doing this in as least lifts as possible. So I would want to be hitting, I mean, when I did 500, I did 4 lifts. I did 380, 420, 465, and then went for the 500. And I think the 4 lift is the minimum, in my opinion, because you have to gradually warm your body up. You couldn't go from 420 straight to 500. Your body's not ready for it. You're going to end up snapping your back, ripping a hamstring off. So I think the 4 lift is sensible.
So here's the thing, and Mark, you've made this point, and Eddie, I want you to tell every single person who's in here, when you were doing that lift, how important was it to hear the support of the crowd?
Honestly, the crowd made that lift. If it wasn't for the crowd chanting my name and getting the support and wishing me to pull that 500 kilo, it wouldn't have happened. So I empower everyone in this audience right now to show you support for these guys. Big rolls, big claps. Show you support. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
With that being said, I think they're getting ready to lift behind us. We might need to get out of the way.
So why don't we say thank you to the beast, Eddie Hall! Give it up for that man, and you heard him. Every athlete who's going to be out here is going to be depending on every one of you. They get 3 lifts. They've all submitted their first weight blind. They don't know what the other athletes are going to do. When they come out here, I want you guys to support them. This is interactive. You can determine how these athletes do. So are you ready to see some strongmen lifting? I want to hear this side. Are you ready to see some lifting? What about in the middle?
Matt Iceman, Mark Henry, and Eddie Hall getting the crowd fired up, and this is your order for event number 1, the first of 5 events, the Rogue Elephant Bar Deadlift. We will start things off with Matchon Belshock, who will open with a lift of 796 pounds, and then every athlete after him will be lifting more weight. Again, we go from the lightest lift to the heaviest lift. Weight will never come off the bar.
Yes, and this is going to be a chess match because all the time they know that they've just got so many attempts that they can pull on the bar. They get 3 attempts. Every attempt matters.
Belshock will open at 796, as will Duchess Kaliszkowski.
And let us introduce
And
the
Kaliszkowski is a
judges
man
who will
who
be determining
really needs to improve his
are
deadlift. That's
good.
what held him back last year. If he can have a decent performance here, he is also a threat to possibly win this whole thing.
Yes, he is, and the deadlift is something that takes time to develop because it takes not only just the ability to get stronger, you have to find that balance inside the bar to be able to get your leverage points, and that takes time.
a legend in his own right as a powerlifter and a
Josh
strongman.
Belshak will lead things
And
off
of course,
first. He has yet to take the stage.
who made this sport popular
That's
to most
Magnus
every
Magnuson,
single one of us.
the head
We grew
judge,
up with him as a four-time
taking his
world strongman
traditional
champion.
place in
He'll be
front of the
head
athlete who will be
referee.
lifting.
Give it up for Magnus.
Yes, Magnus is four-time world's strongest man and has done many strength athlete events such as Highland Games as well.
You will watch this man.
Here's how the events will be scored. There are 10 athletes, so you get 10 points for first, 9 for second. You work your way all the way down to 10th. Receives 1 point. The athlete who has the most points after 2 days and 5 events will be the 2019 Arnold Strongman Classic champion. We are set to get things started as the man from Slovenia, Josh Belshak, gets set for his first lift, 796 pounds on that Rogue Elephant bar.
Yes, I don't know if he's had a chance to train on a bar that's this flexible. As we said, you've got to pull the bar, be patient from the bottom, pushing your feet down and really getting to where you get to your knees, and then you can pull back on the bar some. But it also wants to pull you forward. That flex actually works to pull you forward. Using the straps. The strap is a very different lift in some ways than the unstrapped deadlift. You're going to see the athlete get his hips down.
Belshak has a minute to make his attempt. 796 pounds, and that will be no problem. And Belshak's first attempt is good.
Plenty of time. He just wants to get an event in, make sure that he's had a chance to fill the bar. Coming off the bottom, you see how the bar does flex. The end of those plates come off last, and that's what gives that flex, and that pulls you forward. He has been dealing with somewhat of a hip issue as well, as we saw in Santa Monica. It looks like it's better. I didn't see any favoring of one side or the other.
Up next, Maciej Kieliszkowski from Poland. Another man who looks to be the future of strongman, trying to improve on his 4th place finish from last year's Arnold Strongman Classic. He is also opening at 796 pounds.
Applying the straps. There are different types of straps. There's shorter ones, longer ones. But most of the athletes kind of stick with the longer straps. Notice how he just wraps one time so he can get his hands on.
796 for Maciej Kieliszkowski.
You don't see very many guys use the sumo style. Let him hear it, 800 pounds!
796 looks great for Kieliszkowski as his first lift is successful.
He's got to be relieved that that went very smoothly.
Next up, it's the rookie,
He handled the flex very well and pulled past his knees. You notice he's wearing knee bands. Sometimes that can hold you up a little bit as the bar clears your knees. That knurling can actually catch it. But he did a very good job. You can see he looks much more confident in the deadlift.
That is Alexei Novikov, the man who won the 2018 Arnold Strongman Amateur competition out of the Ukraine, going for 820 pounds.
Here, checking it out.
You can only imagine what's going through his head. Young athlete gets this chance on this stage with these other athletes. I'm sure that some of these athletes that he sees, like JF that he's talking to there, or Brian Shaw, he's been a fan of, and now he's competing against them.
Novikov was here last year, but he was not on this main stage, and we'll have to see how he handles the crowd here. Now he's talking to one of the officials.
Yes, that's Dion Wessels. Notice how many of the athletes are coming out in sock feet or very, very low shoes. What that does is it decreases the length of how far you have to pull the bar. You have a higher shoe on, like a running shoe, that's another inch you have to pull. And with these kind of weights.
802 for Alexei Novikov as he was just confirming his weight with the judge. The athletes had to declare their weight last night. They did have one chance to change it after warm-ups today.
Yes, looks like he's making a fashion statement as he's getting his straps ready there.
802 for Alexei Novikov.
Here we go.
Pardon me, 820. 820 is good for the youngster.
Yes,
and we have gone 3 for 3 so far.
Yes, Novikov looked Novikov looks a little relieved that he got that weight up. Pulling a little bit of shake in that. That means his hamstrings were really struggling to get the bar up his posterior chain of muscles. He also has a very narrow foot stance. And that narrow foot stance means that he's going to have to pull that bar further. That works many times for deadlifts that you see in powerlifting competitions, but in the last several years there have been many of the strongman athletes are now having a wider foot stance, and the straps allow the strongman to sit back more. You see, he started to roll the bar. With a bar with this much flex, that really doesn't help you that much. With a stiffer bar like in powerlifting or a shorter bar, rolling the bar back actually keeps the hips active. It actually makes it sort of a dynamic lift a little bit more off the bottom. And I can tell if you time it correctly, it makes the weight feel a little bit lighter coming off the first 6 inches of the floor.
That is Jean-Francois Caron out of Canada. He's the 2018 Arnold Classic Africa champion. That's how he qualified this year. And he is stepping up to 904 pounds, so making a big jump from Alexei Novikov's 820.
He's in the 1,000-pound club. Also wearing socks.
And Caron drops 904, maybe grabs his right hamstring there. And gingerly walking back to the bench. So JF Caron, talking to Brian Shaw, and it looks like Caron grabbed for his right hamstring after this attempt.
Drops his hip, starts to pull, and immediately stop as soon as the weight cleared the floor. So the end of those plates, as soon as those came off, it looked like it was going to start very well. Something's happened to his hamstring.
We will have to see if that's something that will affect him the rest of the way, but JF Caron right now looking at a 10th place finish in this event.
Unfortunately, if he doesn't, if he's not able to come out, he will get last place points for this. The other piece of this is if he does actually declare another weight, and it's got to be pretty close to that one because you just want to get an attempt in. We call it bombing out if you don't get a valid attempt in.
And he cannot go lighter because again, weight cannot come off the bar. He has to attempt more than his last lift.
Yes, that's a very traditional way to perform any strength competition. Once you put weight on, you can't take it off.
That is Rano Heinla out of Estonia, the 2018 Arnold Classic Australia champion, making his second appearance here at the Arnold Strongman Classic in Columbus, Ohio. Was 8th in 2018, and he will be up next.
Very good deadlifter. I really like his style. As he's setting up, getting the straps on. What you're going to see is he sets his hips very firmly, takes the slack out of the bar, and pushes his feet down into the floor very hard, and gets a very smooth start.
First attempt to Rano Heinla. And that will count. Will get the weight on the bar for you, but the most important thing for Heinla is that his first attempt is good.
You don't see a lot of guys wearing a mouthpiece. He's one of the guys that do it like the railroad.
Pushes very quickly, very dynamic lift. He actually used the flex in the bar a little bit differently, and then he actually pushes his feet down, as we talked about, gets the bar to his knees pretty quickly. It didn't look like it pulled him forward. I'll bet he's been practicing with a bar with some flex in it.
Heinla makes his way off.
I was very impressed by his deadlifting at the Arnold Strongman Classic.
We'll take a second to do some bar maintenance, a little bit of blood on the bar, and as you mentioned, Bill, that knurling that you see, that rough spot opposite of that smooth middle, do a good job of scraping up your legs.
Yes, it does. So deadlift bars are known for that, any bar with flex in it. And what happens is that bar comes off the floor and goes right into your shin. You notice that he actually had the bar an inch or so above, in front of his shin when he started. So when he pulled back, it hits you right in the shin as you're coming up the bar. That's why really one of the things you want to focus on is being patient at the bottom of this lift with this kind of bar and trying to get just a little bit more just a little bit more time to push from the bottom.
Here's where we stand so far. We are through 5 athletes, and Ronald Heinle has the heaviest lift at 9:03, but we are just in the first round, and we still have 5 more athletes to lift.
That's not surprising. Rauno is a very good deadlifter, as we talked about. He placed 3rd in the Deadlift World Championships in 2016.
Here's Martins Lisis with his first attempt. He won the Arnold Classic Europe competition, also won the Arnold Classic USA competition that was held a couple months ago in Santa Monica, right there on the pier. 420 kilos for Lisis. And that is no problem.
Yes, he was very patient. Saw head judge Magnus for Magnuson give the down signal.
Nails it. It is okay to cheer over here on this
Sitting
side.
way back to pull the bar back. And that's exactly what the straps allow you to do. In a little bit wider foot stance, you can really focus on pulling back. What that does is it allows you to have your shins more upright. It allows you to then use your levers to pull back from the bar. One of the major mistakes that people make when they deadlift, if they can't find that spot, they end up getting their shoulders in front of the bar or their knees in front of the bar. And when that happens, it's very difficult to pull back. It's not like a clean where you need your shoulders in front of the bar, and then you can, or a snatch where you need your shoulders in front of the bar to allow your posterior chain levers to get the bar accelerated. With a deadlift, you want to sit back. Again, this isn't just power, this is strength.
The Siberian Force, Mikhail Shivlikov, is up next. 950 pounds for his first attempt. 431 kilos.
This is quite a start for him. But we've seen in the past, he has a heart of a lion. The winner of the Zhukov medal.
Let's see the effort out of Shivlikov.
No problem for Shivlikov. 950 in the books for him in his opening lift. One more look at that one.
So notice how he dips his hips, and that gives him some dynamic, gives him a little bit of dynamic force. Instead of pulling on, allowing the bar to roll back onto him, with this much flex, you really can't do that. So he puts some dynamic opening movement on it by flexing his hips down. Hafthor does the same thing. I can tell you personally, when you do that, when you sit down on the bar, you can feel your posterior chain, particularly your hamstrings, tighten up just a little bit, and it gives you a little bit of spring. Now we're in opening attempts. So what happens, these guys are very calmly coming out, trying to make sure that they can have a good attempt and then move forward. We'll talk a little bit more about what happens when there's more weight on the bar and what the crowd does for you and what an athlete's mental aspect does for you.
That is Brian Shaw. He has finished first or second here at the Arnold Strongman Classic 7 of the last 8 years. He was second last year to Hafthor Bjornsson. And his opening lift will also be 950 pounds. And this is a man we expect to see in the top 3 and maybe making a run at that 500 kilo record.
He's capable of going high in this event.
Hafthor Bjornsson still awaiting his turn. Shaw getting himself psyched up. His first attempt, 950 pounds on the bar for the crowd favorite here in Columbus.
Brian with that very wide foot placement. He tells me he likes to wear somewhat of a shoe, see a very flat shoe, as the other athletes like to wear socks. But he said for him, he likes to really be able to push out on his feet.
950 pounds for Brian Shaw.
Rattling that bar. Let him hear it, crowd. Give him some support.
And that goes up easily.
Very easily done. So he uses he's applying 2 of those principles. He's actually rolling the bar back Watch how he rolls the bar back, flexes hips down, and stands up very, very easily. That was a very commanding lift. He's been practicing on a longer bar. As I said, he always comes prepared.
Brian Shaw with 950 pounds, impressive lift for his first attempt. And now your defending champion, Hafthor Bjornsson, and the record holder in this event at 1,041 pounds. His opening attempt, 5 more pounds than Brian Shaw. He's going to go for 955.
So that's Stefan Solvay Peterson, his coach. Stefan Solvay is a world-class strongman in his own right. Placed as high as 4th at the TWI World Strongest Man. Hafthor setting up.
Let's see if we can carry over.
He's had terrific training. Might have been following that on the internet.
See how he starts Thor's first lift.
He also has those very wide foot stances, just like Brian Shaw does.
Two of the taller athletes with similar setups. Hafthor Bjornsson, attempt number 1, 955 pounds. Gravity is not a problem for that man with 955 pounds, and that goes up just like Brian Shaw's opening lift. So now the battle has started between Shaw and Bjornsson. One more look at Bjornsson's opening lift.
They both do the same thing. They roll the bar back. They've commanded that flex. They've been practicing with that bar with a longer bar with flex in it. The other thing too is they do that little hip dip, and that activates their posterior chain. That looked like a formality. That was really a warm-up on stage just to get the feel.
Hafthor Bjornsson, another man we expect to see in that Rogue Record Breakers event immediately following this event. This is the first of 5 events that these men will be competing in over the next 2 days. More weight being added for Jerry Pritchett, who will go after 974 pounds.
Okay, so we're starting to see some of the gamesmanship play itself out. So why 974? So Jerry's really playing inside of having the best placement possible. And it looks like he's going to take a big leap at the end to strike. He wants to get in that top 3 to strike at that 500 kilos as he is a great deadlifter. We saw him pull 950 at Santa Monica, and it looked easier than his 700-pound pull. I think you might agree with that, Sean.
He looked great in Santa Monica. We had Brian Shaw in the booth while he was lifting. And if you watch Jerry Pritchett, what makes him, I think, so good is that the fact that he looks the same, regardless of the weight on the bar. He has the same form all the time. This is his opening attempt at 974 pounds.
You guys can help him get this weight up.
Putting his straps on, he too uses a wide foot placement. He pulls a little bit like Andy Bolton. If I would encourage you to look at the Andy Bolton style, where he uses his lever of his hips and his back.
Pritchett right to work, and 974 goes up. Jerry Pritchett is looking to be the 3rd man to possibly get himself into that Rogue Record Breaker segment. You look at this lift, there's a good chance that'll happen.
Yes, a little bit of a hip dip, doesn't roll the bar back, but notice how he kind of looks down as he starts his pull. And what that allows him to do is just pull back, back, back. And he uses really levers, not necessarily that dynamic hip flexion.
Round 1 is done. We had 10 athletes go. 9 of them had successful lifts, and Jerry Pritchett had the heaviest lift at 974 pounds, followed by Hafthor Bjornsson, Brian Shaw, and Mikhail Shivlikov. He and Martins Lisis both lifting 926. Now the athletes will enter their second weights, and again we will go from lightest up to heaviest, and there's a good bet that Jerry Pritchett will be one of the men who is in that heaviest category. More maintenance being done on the bar before we start round 2.
So Sean, just to put this in perspective, the world record for strongman deadlift with the straps in 2011 was set by Zydrunas Viscus around 970. And here comes Jerry Pritchett in an opening attempt and made it look routine. And that would have been the world record just a few years ago in strongman. Jerry actually pulled a world's record in powerlifting a couple of years ago And it was on his second attempt because he had to rush off and catch a plane because the meet was running late. He didn't even get his third attempt, and he pulled a deadlift world record in powerlifting, which means no strap, a cross-hand pull.
It's Mikhail Shivlikov, who successfully lifted 950 pounds. He was one of 10 men to go in the first round. JF Perrone was the only man who didn't have a successful lift. Injured himself on this attempt at 904 pounds, and he will be out for the rest of the deadlift event, but we do not know whether or not he will stay in the competition.
A hamstring injury, a hip injury, that's sort of like having a knee injury for a running back or a shoulder injury for a baseball pitcher. That's really hard to overcome because that hip flexion is dependent on those hamstrings.
And as Jerry Pritchett, the man who is right now, after round one, your leader at 974 pounds, he beat Hafthor Bjornsson and Brian Shaw.
Everybody's been talking
pounds, and then also by 24 pounds, respectively.
Yes, everyone's been talking about Hafthor and Brian's preparation for the deadlift, but really, I don't want to be too emphatic about this. Jerry is right in that hunt.
Jerry Pritchett didn't have the best overall result last year, but he is a great deadlifter. These are your top two men from last year, Hafthor Bjornsson on the left and Brian Shaw on the right. Pritchett finished 6th in 2018, but we're starting off with an event that is definitely his strength.
Yes. Now they're starting to get a little more serious. You can see their faces are a little more concentrated. A little more concentration in their face. So when you're pulling a heavy deadlift, when you get to the higher weights, there's the way that the deadlift looks and the way that the deadlift feels.
This is Pritchett's opening lift at 974 pounds.
And that looked easy, and it probably felt pretty good for him too. So if you could get your first lift, then that creates a lot of confidence for the athlete. You can't affect your subsequent attempts.
This is another look at his first lift at 974 pounds. I don't think people understand how difficult that is, and Jerry Pritchett makes that look easy.
Yes, notice he uses his hips, but he uses them in a different way. He really uses his hips to keep his low back in that position, and he gets the bar up to his knees, and then his back's in a great position just to pull back his lower back. He keeps a very flat back position, even if he looks down at the initial part of the lift. That's not negotiable. You have to keep that lower back and mid back flat. Some of the more experienced deadlifters will also sort of let their upper shoulders or upper back slump forward a bit, and that's something that requires a lot of practice, a lot of upper back strength. When we get into these heavier weights, we found in the 1980s that there was actually
it is a packed crowd here at the Greater Columbus Convention Center. This was first come, first served for a lot of the seating, and these people were showing up early in the morning to be able to watch these 10 strongest men in the world vie for the title of Arnold Strongman Classic Champion. This is round two. Matthews Kaliszkowski opening up with 829 pounds. Great lift for Kaliszkowski.
he seems to be limping just a bit.
One more look. See if we can see where he might run into trouble.
He really had to double hitch that just a little bit. That might have been what got him. So notice how his feet are also closer together. He's also got a more narrow hand stance on the bar as well. I think with his height, he would be better served by having a wider foot stance that would cut down the distance. Also would help him use his levers a little bit better. A man of that height has terrific levers.
Mateusz Kaliszkowski's weakness is the deadlift. If he wants to stay alive for one of the top three spots, he's got to have a good performance in this event. Top three spots overall, that is. Alexei Novikov will be up next. He is the rookie. 840 pounds for Novikov.
It takes some time to develop your man muscles. So these younger athletes are learning that lesson firsthand.
Novikov certainly has the most colorful sock choice of any of the athletes. It helped him with his first attempt at 820, and now 20-pound leap to 840 pounds, his second of 3 lifts.
Just 23 years of age, Novikov. From Ukraine, awesome socks, big lift.
Novikov will get the lift. So 2 for 2 for the youngster from Ukraine.
And he got it, Novikov. the rookie.
Also with a very narrow foot stance. And if you'll notice, narrow foot stance, little hip flexion. Look where his thumb is. His thumb is actually, both of his thumbs are in front of the bar. So he's using the strap completely to hold that bar.
2 for 2 for Alexei Novikov. 840 pounds good on his second attempt. Matjaž Belšak will be up next. He hit 796 on his opening attempt, and now he is making the jump to 860 pounds as the bar is loaded.
You do have to admire this apparatus. I mean, this implement, these plates are just beautiful. This is unbelievable. Look at those plates. They've got the wide well dish, just like the old York plates did that were manufactured back in the 40s and 50s when they didn't have bumper plates, so that it made a little less shock on the plates. But each and every one is handcrafted with the Austrian oak himself right inside the plate. Those are beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
That's Martins Visis, who hit 950 pounds on his first attempt. Here's Matjaž Belšak out of Slovenia. 860 pounds.
Matjaž told me he was born strong.
Grew up in a family of cooking enthusiasts. His parents own a restaurant in Slovenia where he sometimes works as an apprentice chef, and probably hauls a lot of big objects around that restaurant. That's 860 that goes up easily.
A little bit of hip flex. Very smoothly done. So any kind of hip issue he had previously, it looks like that's been solved. I think he's going to take a big leap because he had 2 very good attempts. He solved a little bit of the problem with the flex in the bar. He's probably going to take a pretty big jump, meaning he's going to look at going up to probably close to 900 pounds.
Rano Heinle from Estonia will be up next, 950 pounds. He was 8th overall last year at the 2018 Arnold Strongman Classic. 6-time Estonia's strongest man.
Yes, Estonia, the home of George Hackenschmidt. Beautiful documentary that was done by Rogue. I'd encourage everyone to look at that. Again, it's pretty amazing that men from countries that have traditions in strength find themselves on the high altar of strength, which is the Arnold Strongman Classic stage. Just as J.F. Caron, he himself also is from Quebec, just like Louis Cyr. So this tradition lives amongst these strongmen that come from countries that have traditional strongmen. Some of the athletes choose the thinner straps, some like the thicker straps.
You saw Rano's right forearm. That is a tattoo that reads, "You want it, then fight for it." Six years ago, he tore his right Achilles tendon. Doctors told him he would just have to recover from it. He had some surgeries. 6 to be exact. Says it's still an injury he feels from time to time, but here he is, competing in the 2019 Arnold Strongman Classic and trying to deadlift 950 pounds for his second of 3 attempts.
I love the way he solidly locks his hips in before he starts.
Here he is, 951. Put him in a tie for third. He's here.
Ronald Heinle hits 950 pounds.
He's very happy. I don't know if that's a personal best for him, but he's very happy with that so far. That sets him up to get a bigger lift. So he's setting his hands. He used a fairly narrow hand and hip placement, foot placement. He gets his feet together. I just love the way, again, how he locks his hips into this lift. He really does that lifting style of pushing his feet down and looking down when he starts the lift. Excellent lift. So he's looking down till he gets the bar to his knees, and then he just looks up. And that's a style that many powerlifters use.
Ronald Heinle, 950 pounds as we go through 4 athletes here in the second of 3 rounds.
So commanding that flex allows him to pull more weight, because I believe he got just only 900 pounds, but at the Santa Monica show without this longer bar. Cleaning off the bar again, making sure everyone's safe, getting a little bit of blood. And these guys have seen each other's blood before. They compete all the time. They train together. They're together all the time in these competitions.
Here are your top 5 as we go through 4 athletes in the second round. Jerry Pritchett still your leader at 974 pounds. Ronald Heinle moves himself into 4th place with that lift of 950. And here's Martins Lisis, his second attempt, 970 pounds, 4 pounds less than Pritchett lifted in round 1.
Put him in the category above the rest of the guys. And put him ahead of Shaw and Thorne.
And 970 is good for the Dragon.
There we go.
That is a personal best for him. Every point counts, and he's moving himself up.
There are 4 more events after this, so you're indeed correct. Every point counts, and Martins Lisis is trying to get as many as he can and does himself a favor with this one.
A lot of hip flexion. Notice how he bounces that bar heavily into his shins, but he's got those knee wraps that cover them to offset that really a violent pullback.
Lisis is certainly one of the more animated athletes in the field. He does not hold back after that lift. And now Mikhail Shivlikov, second attempt for him, 974 pounds. Looking to tie Jerry Pritchett for the lead, but Pritchett has yet to lift in this second round.
His first lift looked really, really good, so this should be a solid lift for him. But again, there's the way that lifts look and then the way the lifts feel. So it's hard to tell what's going through an athlete's head when they're getting into their second and third attempts.
Served in the Russian Navy as a Marine sailor. That's why he wears that beret. 3rd overall last year in the 2018 Arnold Strongman Classic and just his second career appearance.
I think one of the things that always jump out about me with this athlete is he really commits himself. He is committed to making this lift.
This lift to tie Jerry Pritchett for the lead at 974 pounds. And Shivlikov, with the blood running from his nose, that is common for him. He has that problem a lot. He is okay, but that lift will count. 974 pounds.
Solid off the bottom, controls that flex, gets it to his knees, and has to shake it a little bit to get it back. And then the blood coming out of his nose. He did that last year. Like I said, he really commits. That doesn't bother him.
Kyle Now Shivlikov making sure that the maintenance crew stays busy. They are cleaning the barbell once again and the floor.
We happy few. We Bander brothers, for he who bleeds with me today shall be my brother. And these guys are really close. You can see them on the side talking to each other, saying, you know, good lift, or, you know, maybe do this or that.
Brian Shaw is up next, and we're moving into the 1,000-pound club now. 1,021 pounds on the barbell, just 40 pounds less than Hafthor's top mark that he put up last year of 1,041 pounds. And now things getting serious for Brian Shaw in round 2.
Setting up that big wide foot placement.
Shaw locked in and ready to go. 1,021 pounds on the bar. And Brian Shaw stands up 1,021 pounds, and that is a personal best for him on the elephant bar. And here we go, Bill.
Yes, that was just his second attempt, so he's going to put another big attempt in his third attempt in the competition. I don't think he's even thinking about the 500 kilos right now. He's thinking about competition points. Pushes off the floor, gets it to his knees efficiently, pulls back, no wasted movement.
Jerry Pritchett gets to follow that, and Jerry Pritchett is adding weight to the bar. 1,030 pounds for Jerry Pritchett, as Brian Shaw now has one lift remaining. Pritchett came into this round as your leader. His last lift, round number 1, 974 pounds, looking to reclaim the lead now, as he is currently behind Brian Shaw.
I believe this will be a personal best for him as well on the elephant bar. So now we're getting into the big prey, locking into these big deadlifts. 1031 is actually his personal best, so not quite his personal best, but this is still just the second attempt.
Here comes Pritchett approaching the elephant bar, 1,030 pounds, and look at all the cameras coming out in the crowd. This is a big moment here early in this competition.
Not using a really long strap.
Getting right to work, and Pritchett comes up limping. So 1,030 does not go up for Jerry Pritchett.
That's unfortunate. A little bit of a pull-up.
One more look. 1,030 pounds.
There was a lot of shake in the bar at the beginning. I think he just didn't have the spot, so that bar pulled him forward. And I think that's what's happening to the athletes, that he did pull the bar a little bit more quickly than normal. He's usually a little more patient. And that's the issue with this bar, is that you've got to control that shake. The other thing is that you've got to overcome what your body's telling you, which is stop pulling.
Hafthor Bjornsson up next. He has the record on this implement at 1,041 pounds. He is looking to change that with only his second lift. 1,045 pounds on the bar for the mountain. This would be a new world record on the elephant bar.
He's definitely the largest.
This is only as this second attempt. This shows that he is ready. Getting some Icelandic Viking berserker going. Lowering all inhibitions.
1,045 pounds. And a new elephant bar world record at stake right now for the man they call the mountain, Hafthor Bjornsson. In only the second round, he has one lift remaining after this.
Here we go.
Wow.
Give me a break! How easy is that? And a new world record, 1,045 pounds for the mountain. I mean, come on, Bill. That is ridiculous.
That was very, very impressive. That was very, very impressive. I actually am almost speechless by that. He pulled that bar from the bottom, and there was almost no doubt as soon as he started the pull.
I mean, this is a new world record. He beats his mark from last year, and look how easy this is.
Absolutely. He's got that pull back. He dips his hips. Posterior chain's activated. He's looking down, gets it to his knees, pulls back. He's got all those components down.
He is your new leader, your new world record holder, and we have 1 round to go. As Bjornsson will get some well-deserved rest as we get set for round 3. Here are your standings. Hafthor Bjornsson, Brian Shaw is second. Jerry Pritchett could not get 1,030 pounds, but is still in 3rd place overall. Mikhail Shivlikov and Martins Lisis rounding out the top 5. With Ronald Heinle's lift of 950 pounds, good enough for 6th place right now.
Brian's 10:21 looked good, but it wasn't that easy. It didn't appear that easy anyway.
As we expected, the battle between the 2 favorites starting early, as Brian Shaw is going to try to chase down Hafthor Bjornsson in round number 3. Everybody else is basically going for positioning and points in this event as we get ready for round 3 and Brian Shaw looks on. Let's take one more look at this world record lift.
Takes a long pull back on the bar. Perfect timing. Pulls back. He just got all the components right. That was perfect.
Hafthor Bjornsson is just fired up after that. The record is the big record. 500 kilos, 1,100 pounds. And given what you have seen so far today, Bill, do you think that record is in danger?
Yes. He told me last year that he was shooting for the 500 kilogram mark, and I said, that's great. But it looks like he set up himself pretty well to at least make a very strong run, and he went ahead in the competition. So now it's going to be interesting to see what Brian does for his next attempt. Does he get just a bit more than this and understands that Hafthor could try to make too big of a jump? Does Hafthor go right after the next big attempt, being the 500 kilograms, or is he playing for the points now? We're waiting for weight selections.
We are through 2 of 3 rounds. This is the opening event of the 2019 Arnold Strongman Classic, the first of 5 events that will be contested over the next 2 days. This is the most prestigious and the heaviest strongman event throughout the year, and that man, Brian Shaw, looking to reclaim his title. Last year's 2nd overall to Hafthor Bjornsson.
Brian's favorite saying to people is, you don't always have to be the strongest, but you do have to be the smartest strongman. And he always proves that.
Here's what these 2 athletes have done over their careers. 18 total appearances here at the Arnold Strongman Classic between the 2 of them. Shaw got started a little bit earlier than Bjornsson. They've won 4 times between the 2 of them. Shaw older than Bjornsson at 37 years old. But Hafthor last year really established himself as the man to beat, and Brian Shaw really wants to reclaim his title as we are set for round 3, and Maciej Kaliszkowski is up first.
Interestingly, he's put his feet out a little bit.
871 pounds on the bar for Kaliszkowski.
This would be a best lift for him.
Remember, folks, your energy makes that bar move for these athletes. Kaliszkowski.
And Kaliszkowski will get it. Now, although he is not in contention for the win in this event, that has got to be a big confidence builder for this kid.
Absolutely, it's another step forward. It's another step forward. So he got a personal best. He did put his feet out. Look, his feet are just a little bit further than they were previously. He had a good push off the floor, and he had to pitch it back, but it's a good lift.
And he gets some applause on the left of your screen from Brian Shaw, who said he would love to have Kalisz Koski at his gym and help train him in the deadlift.
Yes, and that, again, that shows that there is a brotherhood. This is rarefied air, that these men are trying to be as strong as possible and redefine how strong people can be, really. And in that quest, only strong men understand that.
That's Matjaž Belšak looking on as he mentally prepares himself for his third and final lift. Alexei Novikov will be up next, 884 pounds, another very talented youngster, making his first appearance here at the Arnold Strongman Classic. He was your amateur champion last year. That's how he earned his way into this competition.
Going for over 400 kilograms is a must for any strongman. That used to be really a watermark, but now it's just sort of the lift that gets you into the upper echelons of being able to deadlift and strongman. But 400 kilos is a watermark, especially for a 23-year-old athlete.
Novikov using those smelling salts to get himself a little more fired up.
That lowers your inhibitions. And lowering your inhibitions allows your nervous system to cut loose any sort of control that says, stop doing this. It allows you to throw yourself forward into it. Another old trick was to drink a shot of whiskey before a big deadlift.
Whatever makes that weight go up.
I've seen it
in this
before.
competition, whatever you need to do.
I've seen it before. Brad Cash in 1983.
This is first time as a professional on this stage.
Alexei Novikov, 884 pounds. Just cannot get it to his knees and then overcome the weight. And he will bow out, but a good opening performance for the rookie, Alexei Novikov. His best lift, 840 pounds. One more look at the failed attempt.
Yes, very narrow foot placement, and with the narrow foot placement, he's got his feet pointing forward. So if he even pointed his toes outward, a lot of great powerlifting deadlifters can have that close foot placement, but they point their toes outward. That allows you to activate your quadriceps more from the bottom. It's actually a pretty good quad exercise to put your heels close together and point your toes out. It's called a duck deadlift. But with your feet straight and your knees pointing forward like that, it just turns into all hamstring and back. He's not using other muscle groups. Really more like his quadriceps.
Novikov goes 2 for 3. Matjaž Belšak up next, making the jump from 860 to 891 pounds to close out event number 1.
He's a very likable athlete. I'd love to see him get this, closing in on 900 pounds. He knows this is over a 400 kilogram lift. Carefully selected weight because he's looking for point placement. And unlike many of the other athletes, he has been a strongman his entire career athletically.
Here's 891 for Belšak. And that will count. Matjaž Belšak out of Slovenia. Perfect 3 for 3 in the elephant bar deadlift.
Beautiful lift, beautiful lift.
We talked about anything it takes. Punching himself in the forehead to get himself fired up.
There we go. That gets his focus going, lowers his inhibitions. He commits, really gets that bar past his knees quickly. I think he had more in the tank, unquestionably.
Rano Heinle will be up next as Belšak takes a break as his event is over. 979 pounds for the man from Estonia.
I mean, again, it's kind of ridiculous that we're a little laissez-faire about the fact that he's pulling close to 1,000 pounds. This is a fantastic deadlift.
And like you mentioned, this was a mark that not very long ago was seen as possibly unreachable.
Yes, it was the world's record just a few years ago. The strongman world's record. Notice he's got those thick wraps on the shins, so he's going to pull that bar pretty strongly against his shins. So he's just using that extra protection. Sometimes that actually causes a little more friction as the knurling of the bar can catch that and slow the bar down. Just like knee wraps sometimes will do the same thing. So some of these things are trade-offs. They feel that extra bit that they get from that particular knee wrap around the shins are helpful. Even if it slows the bar down for them, this is the way that they feel they can get a better lift.
Final lift for Ronald Heinle, 979 pounds.
£81 on that bar. Here we go with Arnold. Let him hear it, folks.
We'll get that solid hip placement and get this lift moving.
Heinle won't get it to go. Thanks to crowd. And he will go 2 for 3 in his opening event.
Great effort. He pulls back. He had his knees just in front of the bar when he started the lift. Even though he corrects that and pulls back, the front of his knees are just a little in front of that bar. If he can correct that and get those knees more solidly placed, I think that will help him start to get over the 1,000-pound club.
Mikhail Shivlikov is up next. Get you the weight once that's confirmed. But he has hit 950 and 974. That means there's one lift remaining, and Martins Licis will be up next because Shivlikov has changed his weight. They do have the option to do that in this final round. They can make one change.
Yes. I really like the sequence of events because lifting natural stones and deadlifting are great complementary exercises. These guys are pulling big deadlifts. They've all been training with carrying slabs and shouldering a stone. That stone lifting has really sent these deadlifts to a higher level. I know training heavier with the deadlift and focusing on them, but I think they're very complementary.
Martins Licis up next, and this is a huge lift for him. 1,001 pounds. Trying to get himself into that exclusive 1,000-pound group. The man they call the Dragon grew up in Latvia before he moved to California when he was 20 years old.
And it's going to be the Dragon approaching the bar.
Norwegian strongman legend Owen Hagen took Licis under his wing, and he is here as a result of that tutelage. 1,001 pounds, looking to become the 6th man to lift 4 digits.
Just demolished the field. Amazing finish in Santa Monica. All right, here it is. Let the Dragon hear it.
Licis will not get it to go, and the club stays at 5 members.
Well, gets his hips down, gets the bar started, barely broke it off the ground. Another day, more deadlift training, more time. He's still a very young athlete in terms of top-level competition. And he still has a mark under his belt, which is his best. He did pull over 900 pounds a couple of years ago at the Arnold here, at the Arnold Strongman Classic.
Now Mikhail Shivlikov will come up next. 1,005 pounds for Shivlikov. He's looking to finish inside the top 3 in this opening event and set himself up nicely for the rest of the competition.
Total commitment. He will continue to pull till there's nothing left.
And Shivlikov cannot get 1,005 to go. The Siberian Force thanking the crowd.
That's showing how that mythic 1,000-pound club.
That number has got to get in your head, too. Once you put 4 digits and you know that as a competitor, that's got to get inside your brain.
he had a good start on that. He didn't overpull the bar. He started a little bit more quickly than he's been. He wasn't as patient on that. He was trying to get a little more gas going on it. Yes, the Europeans are aware of the 1,000-pound club, even though they mostly work kilograms, because the big events that happen in the U.S. This will be a record for Brian Shaw with the elephant bar, 1,049 pounds.
Hafthor Bjornsson just set the new mark at 1,045. That was in round 2, and he has yet to lift. So we could trade records here. Brian Shaw looking to set the new world record on the elephant bar, but remember, Hafthor Bjornsson has yet to go.
He's visualizing his lift. He's thinking. He's looking up. He's saying, "Okay, he's got a checklist in his head. I'm certain he's got a checklist in his head." In other words, he says he's going to get his feet in a certain spot, his hands in a certain spot. He's going to feel a leverage point. He's going to push down with his feet, and he's just going to focus on getting that bar to his knees and then overcoming the weight to the top. And he's checking off in his head what has to happen here.
Brian Shaw looking to jump Hafthor Bjornsson for first place in this event and set a new elephant bar world record in the process.
Yes. He really wants this.
Will we see another record? 1,045 pounds for Brian Shaw.
Getting himself set up. He's had all year to think about last year when he had the chance for the third deadlift to take the lead.
Here we go. And Shaw falling forward over the bar on that attempt. It will not go for him, and that means that Hafthor Bjornsson is the winner of this event with one lift remaining.
So
one more look at Brian Shaw as the crowd salutes him.
everybody's got their phones up trying to record history. A little bit of flex in the bar. And again, when those leverage points are so hard to find, that bar pulled him forward. Notice he pulled back. As he started to pull back, the bar got caught against his shin. When the bar gets caught against your shin, that can make your hips go forward a little bit. And he fell forward. So,
Hafthor Bjornsson is your next man, and he is going to go for that magic number. 1,100 pounds, 500 kilos is the mark he needs to beat. This is a $50,000 lift that he is getting ready to make. He already has the elephant bar world record. He set that on his last lift at 1,045 pounds. He can set another one with his third and final lift and take home 50 grand in the process.
this is absolutely historic. Absolutely historic. Okay, they're going to go through their ritual to get him mentally ready to start this pull. All this training, all this thinking about it, this goal of lifting over 500 kilograms. Setting the all-time world record, not just the elephant bar deadlift record, but the all-time world record in the deadlift from the ground. So we've eclipsed the 1,000-pound mark. Now we're in the 1,100-pound mark.
Hafthor Bjornsson staring at history, and 1,105 pounds, getting the crowd behind him as he lines up for his third and final attempt. $50,000 on the line here for Hafthor Bjornsson.
For all the marbles, here it is.
At the knees, and Bjornsson cannot get it. Blood coming from his forehead. That's how intense that effort was. He sets the elephant bar deadlift record. He wins the event, but the mountain cannot best the beast. And the record remains in Eddie Hall's possession for the time.
Yes, it does. But what he did get was an important win for points.
Here's one more look at what would have been history.
His hips came up just a little more quickly than they have on the other lifts. Patient off the floor, his hips came up a little more quickly.
Hafthor Bjornsson.
Looks like it struck himself in the forehead to sort of get himself psyched up. And then when he started the lift, he started to bleed a little bit.
Bjornsson wins the event, 1,045 pounds and a new elephant bar world record. Brian Shaw will finish second. Jerry Pritchett, despite the fact that he didn't make a third lift, will tie for third with Mikhail Shivlikov and Martins Lisis rounding out the top five. One record is set, and it was Hafthor Bjornsson, and this was the lift that did it, 1,045 pounds.
Notice how his hip placement was just a little bit lower with that lift.
Hafthor Bjornsson on just his second lift bests the mark that he set last year by 4 pounds and earns 10 points in the process. Brian Shaw will get 9. Pritchett and Shivlikov 7.5 each. That's third and fourth place added together and then split. That's why it's 7.5, and Martins Lisis finishes in fifth. One event down, and one record has already fallen here at the Arnold Strongman Classic, and it belongs to that man, Hafthor Bjornsson. Jerry Pritchett with a strong showing, as Mikhail Shivlikov did well. 4 events remain, though, and the mountain has the lead. Stay with us here. The Husafell Stone Carry, event 2, is up next at the 2019 Arnold Strongman Classic.